Welcome. Welcome to this lovely Tuesday, July 26th. I never know how the live streams start off because it's always lagged about 10 seconds. So welcome back to the Costas Verde Show, where we're going to cover Bitcoin price, Ethereum price, altcoins, and traditional markets alike. And I will spend about the first 20 minutes covering Bitcoin and perhaps traditional markets. And then about 25 minutes in, I will roll into looking at the live stream questions, and I typically scan down and get the questions with the emblems next to them, which are the YouTube tier members. Both Cryptillion and the loyalty tier have emblems, and I don't distinguish between the two for these live chats. And then I'll get to the other questions thereafter if there's time. So the big question for Bitcoin and crypto price can be seen right behind me if you can ignore these colorful figures right here. I'm on the Bitcoin CME chart, and you have the previous market cycle high, December 2017, right here. It's over 20K on the futures chart. And Bitcoin price just came below it, and if we zoom into here, it looks like it wants to nail this higher low. What happens so let's zoom into that. And so I will do more in depth as we go into the stream, but let's go to the hour chart. Zooming into here, structurally, that's the same green line, right? It looks like it wants to bounce on that line. And you have multiple things in both. And so what I'm going to show you starting off here with Bitcoin is you have Ethereum supporting the idea of a bounce could happen here. Again, the bounce could just link to a lower high before it then all tanks, right? So I'm not saying bounce off to the moon, Bitcoin 30K. Bounce as in it goes up, 5% or more from here, something to that effect. Ethereum is set up supporting the idea that Bitcoin could bounce from here. Traditional markets are supporting the idea that Bitcoin and crypto could bounce from here. And so let's dive into these charts so I can give you these exact levels, particularly for Bitcoin and Ethereum that I'm looking at. And let's go get these charts. All right, why does Ethereum support the idea that Bitcoin could bounce from here? Again, this is CME chart. It is not moving right now because it's closed. CMEs close, what time do they close? Like 5:30 p.m., something to that effect. And they're open, they'll open up back to, or no. Are they open right now? Let's see here. No, they close over the weekend. I apologize. So, I was thinking of traditional market CMEs. No, the CME for Bitcoin is closed. I'm sorry. It is closed. The futures for traditional market are closed right now for about a half hour, then they'll reopen. I apologize. I was thinking of traditional markets, how they close for an hour. All right, now let's look at how Ethereum supports the idea that a bounce could happen here. Or a swipe down, then bounce. So check out Ethereum on the 1 hour chart. Zoom way out. Let's take off the origin lines. And let's look at it this way. So Ethereum got above the top channel line, trading channel, that dates back to April. So this is months and months and months. Got above. So let's zoom back into here now that we have the bigger perspective. Got above the top of the channel, used it roughly as support, made essentially two higher highs, coming down now to potentially use that as support. However, I think, though, that both Bitcoin and Ethereum overnight, even if there is a bounce from here, which I think it seems probable, even if there is a bounce, I think there could be one, what people might say, scam swipe down, or like the opposite of a scam pump, I can see price grabbing down real quick before it happens, and I want to show you those exact levels on both Ethereum and Bitcoin. But before I do, make sure you're following me on Twitter. I have Cosas Verdes with the number 2, where I post some bomb charts across traditional market and crypto, and the Discord community has links in every video in the description section. And if you work too many hours and you need to do things on your time, recordings of Discord live shows and JPEGs 1 to 3 times a day, 6 to 7 days a week for market updates. The YouTube tier might be for you. You can go ahead and click the join button below. Most of my videos and another video will pop up describing what you get. And again, with those YouTube tiers, I answer your questions first during the live streams. Okay, now here is why we could get a swipe down and where. Add on the origin lines for Ethereum. So you see how Ethereum has played with this blue origin line right here? Zoom down, you tried to use it as support, went below it, went back above it, went way below it, touched what? The other origin line just below it. So see this blue line? That was a perfect long signal. And I did hit that. And I got the next higher low. I played this almost perfectly mostly on Bitcoin and Ethereum though. What happened there? Let's see here. I didn't play some of this other stuff very well, but this part I did because it was too obvious. Origin line and the bottom of the channel line. Anyway, but it hit the next origin line down, then went straight up to this origin line. Hit the point of control of the trading channel. Essentially failure, rejection pattern to this blue line, the origin line. Big drop down, hit the point of control of the trading channel, zoomed back up to the origin line. Another higher low, zoomed up where? The origin line. Now it's so during this, here's the thing though. Did it use it truly as support before it zoomed up? This is why I think a swipe down could happen, even though this is a great point for Ethereum to want to bounce. But look at this line. It never truly used it as support. So I think it's like whatever, is controlling crypto price in terms of most trading volume, which is bots, high trading algorithms essentially. I think they might want to touch this before they are quote unquote happy. And that level is roughly, let's just call it 13.15. I could see, even if there is a nice bounce from here for Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto, I think it might swipe down here, and it would probably happen tonight or early tomorrow. And again, I'm on New York time, and right now it's Tuesday, July 26th. Bitcoin level for that would be somewhere down here. And I want to show you why you have confluence with that as well. It is a micro channel line, as you can see here. But if you add in the macro channel line, which is something I think I covered in my last Bitcoin non-live video, it intersects with the macro line as well. Right there perfectly. And so sometimes when two important lines cross, so let me make this less busy and get the macro channel off. It just looks like it might want to come down there. But if Ethereum does want to bounce from the top of its trading channel, I guess Bitcoin does have justification to bounce too, because this line here, it is the equivalent of the line I started off with, the CME line, right? At the beginning of the video where I said, hey, over here, it's the market cycle high of 2017. It's essentially the same thing. And this horizontal, you need to draw that horizontal on your chart, first off. So let's stop what we're doing and let me make some demands of the viewers. You need that on your chart. For the CME reason, and if you go to the daily, it's what I believe will be perceived widely, even though it's questionable, but I think it'll be perceived as such. It is the threshold of the daily chart being in an uptrend or not. So if a daily closes below there, the trend will officially be in a no trend, because you won't have both a higher high and a higher low. You will have only a higher high, but not a higher low. So you'll have it'll break the daily uptrend. And so, but that line is happening exactly, and not coincidentally. It's likely there because it was a retest on the CMEs of that line, right? But on the spot trade chart, you have an independent reason at the same exact area. And what I could see happening is this day this daily candle closes, if you can see over here, in 1 hour and 47 minutes. Okay, over there you can see it. I can see the day closing above here, and then tomorrow whips down to get it, and then tomorrow potentially green, and maybe even green the next day, but it might be a little questionable. But I can see a nice swipe down, and then it flips green. Does that make sense? So at the beginning, the whole day will be red, perhaps until, let's say, 10 a.m. on Wednesday, which would be the same daily candle, and then it flips green. Something like this. See how this, so zoom into here. See how this swiped down to touch the bottom of this line, the bottom channel line? I could see that happening. Something like this. Maybe not with this much continuation, but that's pretty damn tradable. I can kind of see that happening. And let's go ahead and take a look at traditional markets, which do mix into here. Let's see here. Here we go. So NASDAQ futures are at a point where they could bounce. So right now, nope, they just reopened 4 minutes ago. Okay, so that's why I was confused with the CME stuff earlier, because I was like, wait, did it close for this hour? But I think the CMEs are 24.5, and these charts are 23.5. Yeah, I was getting confused for a second on which one's closed or not. But anyway, this is tied for the second most important straight line in all of the history of NASDAQ futures. It's tied for the second most important straight line, okay? It's an origin line, and it's tied for the second most important one. And there's been a lot of interaction with it recently. This idea, even though it came back below here, I think you could have a little bit of fun between this channel line, which is less macro than this origin line. I think you can have some fun in here, generally use this blue line of support, and give one more try up. Does that make sense? So this is roughly in line with the idea that Bitcoin could bounce. If you could get back above this blue line, use it as support, and give one more try up, potentially all the way back up to the top of the trading channel, or maybe slightly lower, maybe a 45-degree angle to this high here, something to that effect. 45-degree angles really work. Is that 45-degree angle exactly? Maybe not, but it's close enough. Might be more like this is 0, maybe like 30 degrees or something, but something to this effect could happen, which is kind of what I'm thinking. I think Bitcoin could end up forming a lower high before really tanking, but bouncing from current position. So, and in SPX, SPX is more supporting the idea of a swipe down. It looks like it might want to touch this. So this is an origin line, and this is the channel line. So this line here is more macro than all of this. Even though this goes up to the top of the stock market, it's a macro trading channel. But what's even more macro than a macro trading channel are the origin lines, because they go back to the beginning of price for that whatever you're looking at. I could envision a swipe down here at market open tomorrow before it tries then bouncing, which could make Bitcoin finally hit those targets before then giving a bounce. So the nature of how Bitcoin bounces could be pretty finicky, especially if Bitcoin drifts up overnight, and then when market opens, this all races down to touch and then levels out and starts going up throughout the day or later than the day after. But I could really see that happening. So I think that looking at SPX on spot, so this is closed. This is closed when traditional markets close, right? So this chart is going to be really important to look at New York time between 9:30 and roughly 4 p.m. Because I'm going to be looking at that exact line very, very closely. It's going to be key. And if Bitcoin happens to be in Ethereum happen to be at those levels as S&P does this, it adds a lot of probability that Bitcoin will bounce from that area. That would be a lot of cohesion across different assets and maybe even industries, really. Let's see here. What else do we got? So I am personally looking for a bounce, but I think it's possible, that in just general thinking, if you have 3 general ideas, see if I can find my, no, I put it on CMEs, didn't I? Yes, I did. So if you have 3 general ideas of what's getting ready to happen throughout this potentially strange week in regards to a bounce or not, is it does bounce, and this is Bitcoin CMEs, right? It does bounce, and it makes a higher high, which is possible, particularly if the Fed only raises rates by 75%, which on Wednesday, so tomorrow, per this recording, it'll be announced at around 2 p.m. New York time on Wednesday the 27th. So if you see that happening, I think that this could be, something to this effect. It bounces and makes a higher high. That could easily happen. Is it guaranteed to happen? No, but I would probably lean towards that. If something to the effect of 100 points, if it's 75 or 100, I would also keep this into consideration. It does look like it's going to pump, but it ends up forming a lower high, comes back down to this ever important line that I started the stream off with, and then fumbles around as traditional markets try to get all this economic high impact data. They don't do much, and then it tanks from there. And then it makes the second choice is it does bounce, but it makes a lower high. And then the third general idea is that it just gives an bounce and then goes back to this line and starts failing it, getting rejected by it. So among the grand scheme of things, what's going to happen this week, I think what you see behind me here, just in general thoughts, using this line as the main basis point, which I had it marked. That's the line I asked you to draw on the spot trade chart. I had it labeled. I think it's 20,780 on spot, somewhere around there. You need that line, but this is on CME chart. It's a slightly different, but it's in tandem. In general, how is price going to behave around that line? I think there are three general ideas, and these my exact guess is no, but the three general idea is bounces makes a higher high, bounces makes a lower high, or doesn't bounce and then it uses it as resistance and fails. So no matter what happens, if you start getting a stronger bounce this week, well, you know that red is out. So you can start deducing the avenues, the realms of possibilities of what Bitcoin's going to do. And then obviously, from there, you can have a little bit better understanding of where's price going to go. So if price starts zooming up, you realize, okay, this could end up being just a lower high at roughly a 45-degree angle, maybe even at this trend line, something around here, something around that trend line. And you would want to be defensive around that area. Most likely you'd want to be really defensive, actually, if that were to happen. But if price ends up getting above and beyond that, even before this green makes a higher high, if it starts getting above that trend line, you would think, green is starting to look more probable. We're going up from here, and Bitcoin might race up to, 25, 28, 29K potentially. And that's so I would roll with this week by levels, but I cannot stress enough, so eyes off. Let me put on a different background right here. There we go. Now I just need some sunglasses. It's really bright. But maybe this would be better. There we go. But I think in general this week, it's going to be, if you're somebody who clicks around a lot, it's going to be really tough to play this. It's going to be very, very, very tough, especially if you're using futures and leverage. It's going to be so hard to play this. I want you to keep that in mind. And it's likely that if you're playing futures with leverage, Wednesday, Thursday, you have a high chance of getting your butt kicked because you're going to be trading against very heavy impulses of high frequency trading algos that are designed with perhaps tens of millions of R&D work within, the last 10 years or something. You don't want to trade against that. It's going to be heavy impulses of that. And that is based off the idea that there's a lot of high impact economic data coming out. But regardless of that, without trying to scare you, to keep, a basis, keep yourself based just in general, I would look for three general ideas. And as price moves, start deducing or recalibrating your probabilities of which one of these is going to play out using this line that I asked you, at least on spot trade or on spot price, to draw in. And maybe if you've drawn this trading channel, like I've tried to get people to do quite a bit, it's going to give you a really, really good guide, right? Now, in my last Bitcoin video, I talked heavily about the daily RSI, so let's see where that is. So right now, it's still pretty inconclusive. It hasn't come back up to the EMA to get rejected or even interact. So let's zoom way in. It hasn't done this yet. So nothing's really changed. You can't tell if this is going to be a higher low or not. But as this week and next week rolls out, I promise you, you're going to be able to get a pretty good signal from that. Another thing that I'm looking at is the 12-hour Stokes. So you can see during each of these 3 oscillations, 1, 2, 3, dating back from June, the 12-hour RSI down below. So let's, these are the, okay, 1, 2, 3. These oscillations have gotten things mostly right. So if you start, could it stop being right and it just wiggles around here forever and price keeps going down? Yeah, it might not do the same thing. It could do something like this effect, zoom up and then whatever happened here, that could happen again. So it might not be the best guide. Let me get rid of these other ones. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it could wiggle up and then just really scream down. It's possible, but just keep in mind that throughout all these oscillations, this has been a pretty good 12-hour Stokes have done a pretty good job. It's possible that they continue doing a good job. So if you get a mixture of some type of bounce signatures on just bare naked price, and then you start seeing a cross up on these Stokes, so the blue, which is the faster moving Stoke, goes above the red. Yeah, you get some fake outs and pullbacks after that happens, but it is an extra layer of mild confidence on top of your guess of direction. So don't hesitate to use. If you're using the free version of TradingView, you can't use the 12-hour. You would have to go in and change the Stoke parameters on the 4-hour daily, I guess, to make it the same. You can play around with what's in there, so you could technically have the exact same thing, but you'd have to be on the 4-hour, the daily chart, and then you'd have to modify these. I don't think I could do that off the fly real quick during a live stream. But those are the overall things that I'm looking for on Bitcoin for a higher low to bounce, on Ethereum, and on traditional markets. I gave you all the key lines, and hopefully this is able to guide you through the week. And to sum up, I cannot stress enough, this week is a lot of high impact data. If you're trading with futures, you're likely going to get your butt kicked. So I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but if it's probable you'd get your butt kicked, especially on Wednesday, that might mean just take a day off and let other people get their butt kicked. I can't suggest that enough. It's going to be very, very tough to play against what's getting ready to happen. And I seriously doubt it won't be a week of whalish, high impulse, high frequency trading stuff that really does fake out after fake out, and you could get some straight up, straight down moves, as we've seen multiple times throughout this when high economic data came out. Straight up, straight down. Like within an hour or sometimes over 8 hours, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's within like 20, 30. I think there was one back here. I can't remember. I think it was right here, that wick. I think it all happened in like 45 minutes. I think it was 10. No, it was this guy. It was 10. It was at the 6-month close. It was 10% up in 30 minutes and then straight back down. And I think there was high impact data released too, but you had a very important closure. So I don't think it'll be 10% ridiculousness. That was weird. But it could be 5% swings on Bitcoin, which is huge, both ways. Just getting you out of your position or stopping you out over and over and over before you took profit. It's going to be very tough. So stay safe this week. Even though you have your nice guiding lines that I think I've provided pretty well, it still won't be perfect. And the algos can really move price on 5-minute candles. Either way, be careful. All right, here we go. Live questions. I kept that at 25 minutes. That was pretty good. All right, rock and roll. Harrison, what's up? Thanks for being a member for 6 months. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. How low do you see ICP and MTRG going? All right. I mean, I'm not convinced ICP is going to make it through the bear market. So it's had a rough. But take what I said specifically. I said it that way purposefully. I am not for sure that it'll make it through the bear market. I'm not suggesting it won't. I'm simply stating my opinion that I am personally not sure. I'm not certain it will. Okay, so you can take the implications of that how you will, but please don't misinterpret what I said there. All right, I didn't. And so a lot of people say, "Oh, you said it's going to die." No, I didn't. I did not say that. Gosh. But I don't think there are enough ICP fans out there to misinterpret that like Veracity fans did on one of my videos. I mean, if you look at this, Bitcoin made a higher high. Ethereum made a higher high. Cardano made a higher high. ADA made a higher high in November. Buyers already became uninterested in this by then. This didn't make a higher high when Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano did, and Atom and Luna. Yeah, that's sore topic, but even Luna did. The big movers at the time in November all made higher highs. Strong coins made things that had interested buyer group made a higher high. Who had a team like a group of believers, big enough to move price. Even back then, this didn't. So keep that in mind. And it started off with way too big of a market cap. Started off with $8 billion or $9 billion just snapped into existence. Like it's man. But that could be specifically what makes this a better deal if you're a big believer in it. But just be careful with this one because, I mean, facts, this did not make a higher high in November along with all the stronger coins. That is a fact. That's a factual statement. How you interpret that and how strong of an interpretation is not a fact. You can, you'd have to do that qualitatively, but just be careful with this one. How low could it go? I would say I would make two guesses. I would make a guess I would use the time axis. Okay, I'm going to mix the time axis with the average slope. And where they meet is going to be my guess. That's all I'm doing. So the average slope of all the trading volume, okay, this way, mixed with my guess of where the bear market will end this over here. Okay, so my first guess is somewhere, let's say around, November. My second guess is going to be February. Now, altcoins, as you know, they often rally after Bitcoin makes its final low, but they almost all make a lower. So for everybody, listen, if you're not an ICP fan, what I'm about to say, and you're an altcoin fan of some sort, it applies to you. The vast majority of altcoins, yes, after Bitcoin makes a capitulation, it's all said and done. Bitcoin has its low in. Yeah, most altcoins will go on a run, 200 to 400% over the next 6 months. It's not instant. It's not altcoin season, but over several months, they could each have large runs, especially large caps. Now, if you're on page 1 of CoinMarketCap or page 2, you could likely have a nice run. But here's the important part. Almost all altcoins, at least the last 2 markets, cycles, made lower lows about a year and a half later when Bitcoin made its first macro higher low. So these two guesses over here, okay, that's for Bitcoin's low, and where will this be? So it could make a lower low over there somewhere later. I want to I'm being very specific. This would be the low for in tandem or in connection to Bitcoin's low. All right? Okay. But if you want me to mark off a year and a half after that, I mean, hell, I can go to the 2-day chart, but I would have to do it somewhere out here. Like, say, yeah, just a year later, I could make even lower low. So the average trajectory of this got a really well-defined point of control on this guy. A very well-defined one. So I would guess somewhere between 393 at best to, so wick below here. So during a capitulation event, it's probably going to wick under here. Lowest, I would say about 90 cents. I think it could wick under here, something like this. If Bitcoin capitulated, New Year's sell-off, post-New Year's sell-off. Yeah, 80 to 90 cents on a wick. I could easily see this doing. That's ICP. But I'm not going to postulate how low it'll go when Bitcoin, has its rally with all crypto, makes its macro higher low. I don't know how low it'll go. It could just hit the top of this. It could rally outside of this. And hit the top of this guy. Which actually that would be a higher low too. No, that would be a low. So that would be like potentially, something like if it hit the point of control down here. $0.30 for its ultimate low, potentially 30. So within the next 12 months, maybe 90, and then thereafter, maybe even as low as 30. Something to that effect. But you could have a 200 to 400% run afterwards. So from wick low to wick high, that's way. So they wouldn't go nearly that high. That's way too much, but I exaggerated that. How high this goes in a rally. But anyway, those are your two numbers. All right, now you also asked for MTRG. This one's not looking horrible. It made a higher low with Bitcoin's lower low. So this one is in way better shape. Like even just looking at recent price action from here to there, this is in better shape than Bitcoin. This is in really good shape. I'm impressed by this. Yeah, that higher low is freaking impressive. So this means there is a group of people or fans or whoever who is interested in this. If it's a small cap, maybe that's not that many people, but that's enough to stick a higher low when not even Bitcoin could do that. So I think the prospects of this is a hell of a lot better than ICP. I mean, you can see stuff in the charts, and that is. Now, will this whatever buyer group of whoever, will they persist through the bear market? Maybe not. But I think they have a hell of a lot better chance than ICP because their interested buyer group's already gone. That's like confirmed from factual statements. So I'm not guaranteeing this does better than ICP or anything, but I think the statistical probabilities of this being a better thing to pick up throughout the bear market is very, very high. How low? I mean, honestly, the bottom might be in for this. That might have been it. This looks like it's pretty strong. This could end up doing. Honestly, if I had to guess, I think this has a strong chance of just playing in this channel until Bitcoin's ready to fire up. I think this low might have been it. Potentially. If there's a strong candidate for that, I think this is a strong candidate for the lows already in. I don't even think Bitcoin's a strong candidate for that, but this guy could. Now, so let's take a look. Yeah, that doesn't even make sense on this. Honestly, that's what I would guess. I think it would want to hold on to that low of $1. Could it go lower? Yeah, but something would fundamentally have to change that has been developing for freaking like 4 or 5 months. I mean, it could happen. And if it did happen, I think it would fall back into this area here. It'd probably fall back into here. And if I had to knock off November and February, even though I don't think this will happen, but it could, I could see this somewhere around 14 cents or 4 cents. I know that sounds wild because it's at $2 now, but crypto does crazy stuff, and all it has to do is fall back into that, the channel, which it had a lot of trading volume. It could easily happen. I don't think it's probable though, especially 4 cents, but you asked how low could they go, and I think it could go down to 4 cents. It would make, honestly, I wouldn't be, if it did, I wouldn't be surprised. But as of right now, I don't think it's statistically like my favorite bet. I wouldn't bet on that. So yeah, per your question, that's how I'm going to answer that one. All right. Dang, OTA's been community member for 8 months. All right. I don't know if y'all can see that over there on the chat, but it's telling me how long they've completed 6 and 8 months respectively. All right. OTA, nice to see you. What do you think is bear market bottom target for Proton? Man, why are so many people for a small cap in a bear market? That gets a lot of attention. And where do you think it might go if BTC moves higher this week? All right. So the question is about Proton XPR. Where do I think a bear market bottom for Proton might be? And this week, if Bitcoin makes some type of move up over the next 10 days or whatever, how high could it go in that sense? So short-term analysis, if things are bullish, and then a longer-term analysis throughout the bear market. So let's go get XPR. Okay. Ooh, yeah, this could fall off a cliff. Yeah, you don't want it to. So I remember doing this. If it goes below here, it's gonna be bad. That's why I exaggerated all this. I should probably get rid of this. It's kind of obnoxious, but I did it. I did that because there's so many people interested in this, and guys and gals, this could go a lot lower. Whew. It could have a lot of price discovery down, a lot. And once it breaks this horizontal. Just like I told KDA folks, once it breaks the horizontal, it's going to go straight down. And that's exactly what happened after it broke that level I gave. This is going to be key. If you don't have a line, I mean, just like the bottom of price. If it goes below that, okay, about 0.0026 and closes a daily candle below there, even though I'm on the 2-day chart. If you start seeing closures below these closures, it is, and Bitcoin is looking weak. I mean, from the second part of the question, how low could it go this bear market? I mean, that will initiate a large move down, and it's likely going to fall back into its, I guess its trajectory right here. It's going to fall back into where the slope essentially of most trading volume has resided. It will fall right back, or it'll fall to it's actually still in there, but it'll fall to the bottom of it. It'll test the bottom of this real fast. So let's make a quick point of control here. Actually, let me make this a little. Let's go to February. All right, so I think bear market could end in February or November, February 2023 or November 2022. So that's why those two vertical lines here to mark the timing of what just my general guesses of bear market bottom. And am I an authority figure on calling that? No, those are just my guesses. They're educated guesses, but they are definitely just guesses. So, and my guesses often are good, but when it comes to timing, I don't know how good anybody's guesses are in a market, really. Timing is something not even high frequency trading algos can get unless they're timing like short moves on 1% and 2% basis points in. They're obviously making that happen so they can time it perfectly. All right, so bear market bottom for this 00044 or 00017. I could see it going down to one of those two areas. 00044 or 00017. And let me be specific. That is the low for when Bitcoin has a low. Most altcoins, especially smaller caps, they make their low a year to a year and a half. After that, they hit that area, go on a rally, and then go lower as Bitcoin about a year later makes a macro higher low. So if you get these levels, just realize that it could be wise to become a seller in a rally thereafter. In a rally, I'm not saying like a 1 week rally. I'm talking about a multi-week, multi-month rally. It wouldn't go up 400% in 3 days like altcoin season. It would be perhaps 200 to 400%, maybe even like 800% over 4 to 6 months. As Bitcoin, crypto, potentially even traditional markets have some type of large rally. All right, now, how high could Proton go if Bitcoin rallies here? Well, this channel, it gives it away. It could come straight up to somewhere around 0043. Simple. And the reason I say that simple is because it's probably not going higher. Why would I say it's probably not going any higher? Because that's the top of the trading channel. It hasn't violated it once. So if Bitcoin goes on a nice big rally, even no matter how big it is, I don't think so. That's a 42% move. It could happen. I'm not guaranteeing this will happen because I can't guarantee. Even if Bitcoin pumps up to 28K, I can't guarantee that'll happen. But if Bitcoin, does rock and roll with higher local highs up to 26, 27, 28K, which is possible still, I think that's where this will stop. And I would, if, not financial advice to you, but if I held this currently, I would want to become a seller into that rally as it approached that level personally. I'm not giving you any suggestions, but that would be a very obvious point for short-term price action. Because then, if you're to do that and it did go down from there, you could buy more down lower. So if you want more Proton, you sell your Proton strategically, and safely. But so that is Proton, both long-term and short-term price analysis. All right. Kadena UAE, I missed your darn question. All right. Hey, Kosas, do you think the news coming this week could keep price down? And if it does, okay. So OTA is asking about how high impact economic data is going to affect stuff. So right behind me, you have today at 10 a.m. came out consumer confidence. Didn't really move. The markets didn't do a whole lot. They got a little dragged, but nothing special. Tomorrow is the big stuff. So this is where Jay Powell's going to go on camera, which all the insiders already know what he's going to say. Does that mean you're getting exact hints in the stock market yet? No, because sometimes it's a fake out. It's the wrong direction. Right? So things have pulled back today. It could mean insiders already know he's going to keep it at 75 points. Therefore, price is already baked in, and things are going to continue rallying for like a month, potentially. So this is 2 p.m. New York time tomorrow. Huge. This is the biggest, this is as big as it really, gets. Like this is big. But up until 2 p.m. and even just after or during 2 p.m., markets are going to be wild. If you're trading if you're trading on leverage, you're probably going to get your butt kicked. First off, this is big news. And then this week, so to get to your question, then you have, I think Thursday is the day that we're going to confirm from a statistical standpoint we're in a recession, 2 quarters in a row of what do you call it? Of decline, I believe. I think this is where, it's going to be confirmed that or not confirmed. Confirmed that we're not, but it's very likely going to be confirmed that we're in a textbook economic recession from a U.S. economic standpoint. So that could be really big news too. That comes out at 8:30 a.m. All right, and so that's why it's going to be tricky. And then Friday, core CPI price index, and that's 8:30 a.m. too. And that's usually big data if it's the only thing that week. But man, I think Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. is going to be big. So here's the kicker, though. To try to answer your question, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. What if it does come in at 75-point rate hike, which could mean things are bullish, right? And the rally continues, but then just the next day it comes in, confirms that we're in a recession. It spooks the market. You know, I would hate to reference drugs, but you know, it's almost like to the body. It's not a bad analogy of what it does to the body and what this would do. Like these are things that cause reaction in a system, right? These economic events, yeah, are, let's call them like they're a molecule that create a reaction in a system you place it in, right? And you know, it's almost it's this week you have the potential of, you know, downers and uppers being mixed simultaneously. It is. So how that rolls out, I don't freaking know. I don't think anybody does. I don't even know if the whales would be able to, you know, have a coordinated and high probability plan of attack. Because if that were to happen, then you'd have large hedge funds, and you know, they would essentially create a more mass market psychology, and things could get really weird. There wouldn't be there potentially might not be a clear direction, and things could go sideways. I don't know. It depends on how this stuff rolls out, but that's why on my Bitcoin analysis I've been talking about just take it one step at a time. I don't know how this is going to be this is going to be a big week. Possible that the fireworks don't happen until next week, because this big week the market's, you know, reacting to the chemicals injected into the system. They're like, oh, I don't know what to do, you know, and they don't get to have the hangover until Monday or whatever the analogy you want to use. Sorry to use references like that, but it is a good analogy. That's literally what's potentially about to happen, and how it reacts within a system. So I can't answer that question. But I can say if it's only a 75% rate hike and it's confirmed on Thursday, GDP, that we're not in a recession, I think things could scream up till September. It could rally. I wouldn't say all-time highs for either Bitcoin or the traditional market, but you could get a serious macro lower high that goes up for months, like maybe not like 6 months, but 2 to 3. It could be pretty powerful. Could be, and that would be the extreme of one end. On the other extreme, you could have, you know, it could be 125-point rate hike, and then you're confirmed in a recession and shit is straight down. You're just going to have to take it one step at a time and gather, you know, just remove the unnecessary information of what didn't happen, and then what is left after these things come out, then create your new probabilities and new refreshed probabilities. That's the only thing you can do. I don't even think insiders know how the market's going to happen after this. Although I think insiders do know already what JPal's going to say. I don't know they know, but it's obviously do to me. But I could be wrong. But in general, this whole week, how it pans out, how the market reacts to this, I don't think anybody knows. Not even insiders how the whole week and next week will pan out. No idea. AOTA, yeah, nice to have you. All right, and if it does, what point do? All right, I think I answered your question fully. All right, so Kadena UAE at the beginning of the chat, I missed it. Sorry. Ask for Kadena. Everybody asking for Kadena, so I just got off of Proton here. Let's go straight to KDA price analysis, and what I'll do here is I'll do kind of like an if-then statement. I will say if Bitcoin pumps, then this is your target, things to that effect. But before I zoom way in here, okay, you have two different things going on here. Actually, three. You have horizontals, which KDA is kind of playing a horizontal right now. So horizontal. These the lines angled this way are the trading channel in which nearly 100% of price action of all trading volume has been almost 100% has been in since its top. So the lines going this way are very significant because almost 100% of all trading has been within the lines and have respected those lines to a certain degree, right? So hit the top, hit the bottom, go straight to the point of control. Pretty common. Or go straight down and then have a failure rejection pattern within the point of control, and then get above. Like, these lines are being respected, so that's what these lines. Now the yellow lines are your origin lines. This is young enough of an asset where these origin lines might be trumped by the channel lines, so the yellow lines might not be as significant as the lines going this way. All right, from a mid macro standpoint. It might be on equal footing, but they're all each going to be important. So that's the making sense of the chaos you're getting ready to see as we dive in here. Okay, so my previous target right here, I actually thought it was going to wick up to here. It did not. It came up a little shy. So let's get rid of these guys. It did exactly what Bitcoin did, though. It went above a channel line, hit a horizontal, then made a lower high at a channel line, and then went down. So this is moving fairly closely. This is since Bitcoin 17,500 low in mid-June. This has been moving right with Bitcoin. All right. Huh. I wonder how well I wonder which 200 EMA on what time frame is your best fit line on Kadena. It almost looks like the 15-minute. Let's go to the 30. I don't know. Even if Bitcoin bounces, I think this will either get rejected by the 1 hour 200 or wick above and get rejected at $1.60, $1.63 at this channel line. Could then come down, make a higher low, and then try to come up. But in an immediate move, I could see it getting attracted to $1.60 or $1.63. So the 1 hour 200 EMA or the channel line $1.63. And then pulling back significantly from there. How much? Yeah, that'd be 6% is definitely tradable. If Bitcoin bounces from here. So if Bitcoin bounces, which I do think it has a stronger chance to do over the next 2 days. Over the next 2 days, my immediate targets for Kadena is $1.60 and $1.63 for upside targets. Are those targets specific for let's go all in shorting there? No, but if you're trading to the upside, if I were trading to the upside, that's probably where I'd be interested in closing my longs and looking for a re-entry on a higher low if I think things are still bullish, right? I don't know how good of short signals those will be, per se. They could end up being perfect short signals, really, but those are my immediate price targets. Now, the key things that could really... honestly, Kadena looks like it might stay in this it might stay here for a while. What might happen is Kadena goes sideways until it hits this top channel line. And remember, folks, when most of my viewers were like totally brand new in crypto back in March of 2021 when I was talking about BPro, and during the day it hit its top, I was making a video I was recording, it hit the top. I made mention that this is probably it, right? 32 minutes in on March 16th. If you want to go watch that video, I called the top on BPro. Exactly. And I mentioned there just about a minute later, or maybe even 2 minutes, I don't know. But in that video, I mentioned BPro will likely, I said it'll go down, but then go sideways until it hits another trend line. And that's what happened. Right? It went sideways and it went down, but then bounced around sideways for months. And I don't know. It almost looks like that's what is going to happen here. So the real play might be a horizontal range, but the timing of when this is going to get resolution of this horizontal range, it might be this line. Now, if the economic data is bad, yeah, the timing, which drives things down, it could be, a spike up to here. It gets trapped under this channel line and above, but above, so you're playing ping pong between that line and that. Let's zoom in. The timing of when this gets resolution could be this line here around August 2nd, when this line pushes price out because price can't get above this line. So if price can't get above this line, and as time goes on, where does it have to go? It has to go down, and aggressively. It'll come straight down to this yellow line, like hard. It'll come straight down there, and it could happen exactly at this juncture. But it might happen a little before. However, I think Kadena is in the situation where if the economic data really is, not compelling either way and the market doesn't know how to react, Kadena can move right along with that, and also it has the ability to go sideways for a long time. So if it does go sideways for a long time, I mean, you'd probably just play top and bottom and point of control of a sideways range for your basis. Long the bottom, short the top, take some profit in the middle. And if you have to enter in the middle, you do it lightly. It could be the way to play it. What else could drive price below this line is the 1 hour 200 EMA. Look at this. And this is literally, folks, it's the most magical line in all of crypto. Hint. I swear. It is amazing. Just the 200 EMA in general, like even the 5-minute, 15-minute, it's amazing. You should probably use it. But here on Kadena, the 1 hour, if you're below it, it's bad. And if you're below it and you go up to it, you're probably going to get rejected until the point you finally break above and use it as support. So until you break above, use it as support, you're probably going to get rejected. So, yeah, I mean, just look at this simple rule. Here, it kind of hovered on both sides, right? So it did kind of a squiggly type of deal. But right now, what is it doing? It's below it. Has it gotten rejected? Yeah, once, twice. So if it comes up, it could do a failure pattern because I think it could want to reach up to here, the wick above, and come right back down. So it might not be a strict rejection. It might be more of a fail like this. This is a failure pattern. Well, that's actually not a good example. So that's almost a perfect rejection. Where's a good fit? This is a good one right here. So these are two failures in a row. So it got rejected and a big failure. That's a very, so this, like, see how it reached so much higher than this because it wanted to touch this horizontal? I think something like this, a big failure above this line, and then a rejection, and then a failure, and then a rejection. But I think you could either get a straight up rejection or a big failure above that orange line, and the failure would essentially tap this. But what could push price of Kadena down very fast is if this 1 hour 200 EMA continues to be used as resistance and pushes prices below there, it's going straight to here. And if it comes straight here, it'll say to itself, well, this line is just here, so I might as well touch this too. And it'll go straight to $1.30, most likely. It'll probably bounce somewhere $1.31 and then squiggle, then come touch this at $1.30. But it'll hit this triangle. If, and that's an if, I can't say this enough. I'm not guessing that as my main guess. Let me be specific. But if price cannot get above the 1 hour 200 EMA, very, very likely it's going. All right. And that should get you through. I mean, really, yeah, that should get you through with Kadena for the next, 10 to 15 days. All right. Death Cross. What Death Cross? Death Cross on what? Death Cross already happened on Bitcoin a long time ago. So a Death Cross is the daily 50 simple with the daily 200 simple. I think we long been crossed, man. Yeah, the Death Cross was freaking back in January. Yeah, you're 7.5, you're 8 months late on that one. Yeah, that's the Death Cross. And usually on Bitcoin, you do it twice. You squiggle around it. And you squiggle around once you get the golden cross too. So once it golden crosses, it'll go there, it'll go back below, then it'll go back above. The second golden cross is really where the money's at. Like this one, actually. So take off price. Look. First golden cross, second golden cross. That's where the money's at. Cha-ching. The previous bear market, that was not true. However, the case was different. As price respected so what's not shown is the weekly 10. It based off the weekly 10 for like 5 or 6 weeks. Therefore, the probability of only one golden cross was probable because of how Bitcoin slowly respected the weekly 10 down there. If I put price back on, yeah, it slowly respected the weekly 10 down there. So I think it closed 4 weeks in a row, just very unvolatile weekly candles, and then the next week, bam. Like, I think this was a $400 million purchase, if I remember correct. All within like a few hours is what started this off. It was like about a $400 million purchase, and that ended the bear market single-handedly. One big market buy. Second golden cross. Yeah, here's another example. First golden cross, second golden cross. That's where the money's at. See that? Pretty common, at least in Bitcoin. Crypto Crew, yeah, Crypto Crew University is. I've watched Steve for quite some time. Has called the BTC bottom at 17.5. What is your opinion? Well, I don't think he's. I haven't seen him say that. I have a hard time believing he said that. He's pretty careful with what he calls. I think he might have called it for a possibility, which I think it's a possibility, but I think it's like among the top 4 or 5 most probable things to happen. It's maybe number 4 or 5. However, to that though, there are a lot of things in the charts that are saying if the economic context were similar, then yeah, that's the bottom. I'm getting bottom signals off the wazoo, too. But those were bottom signals when the stock market had every correction being V-shaped 100% for freaking 12 and a half years. Which started when? Exactly when Bitcoin's birth was the best timed event ever. It was very fortunate. And I think that 12 years of fortune is done. So all of those signals that I've already showed, like folks on my channel, like there are a lot of signals saying if the context was similar, yeah, that's probably it. But the context is totally different. I think current bottom of 17.5 is the 4th or 5th most likely scenario. I think it's not even close to being it's not a top 3. Because of that. It's the context around the signals, and the context is totally different. Now, am I being slightly hypocritical with that? A little bit, because a lot of times I try to stress to people, it's in the charts, it's in the charts, it's in the charts. But what I'm saying is technically in the charts too, which I've already shown everybody like a lot as well. The context in the charts, structurally, not indicator standpoint, but structurally is different too. Like look. Look. What was the bottom structurally for Bitcoin? Forever. This orange area. When did that change? For a hot minute, coronavirus. Then it got right back up into the orange zone. Now look where we are. So below this orange line, so it went 1, 2, but it wicked down and immediately recovered 2 origin lines below, right? Now look how low below we are. We got rejected. So we didn't just, so see how this coronavirus wicked down and raced back into this? This dropped below the orange zone, got rejected from it. Now we're 1, 2, 3 origin lines below it, which has never happened before. And then if you zoom into that, you just freaking got rejected 3 times. Or 4, 1, 2, 3, failure, rejection. Boom. No, I don't think it's probable at all that that's the bottom. Like that's not how you form bottom. Getting rejected by like really important trend lines like that is not a bottom. I'm sorry. So it technically is in the charts that the context is totally different. As I just showed you plainly and clearly, the context is way different. Therefore, indicators such as, I'm going to put on my coaster ribbons, but it's easy to see. So the signal technically is when the ribbons are mostly below the gray line. That is your bottom. So ribbons mostly below about right here, boom, bottom. Ribbons crossing mostly below, boom, bottom. What's happening now? The last top of the ribbon finally crossed below. That would mean boom, bottom. But look at this origin line, rejection. So now let's go to the other ones and see what happened. So on this ribbons gray line, boom, bottom. Okay. As you came up here, yeah, I guess you did get rejected once. But you found support at the next one down. That hasn't happened yet. That would mean a lower low. It looks like the next one down has to hit. If it took a lot of time to get there, I guess that could be, because it's an ascending line. I guess that could, if Bitcoin went sideways for a long time, I guess that could be the bottom, because it could test that line, similar to how the next, so it got rejected from this one, it had to come touch the next one, which it did. I guess it could. But you were staying essentially in the support zone, right? And then you ripped through the next resistance. And here, so take off the ribbons. Here, when you interacted with the next line up, this origin line, the gray line here, so see this line? That line right there? You didn't use it as true resistance. You had a closure below it, made a higher low, got above it, another higher low, got above it, used it as support. It wasn't ever used as resistance, right? And I mean, right now, you have that stuff going on, and this is being used as resistance, and it's the lowest origin line that Bitcoin's ever touched, and it's being used as resistance. This looks awful. Yeah, I don't. I think it's pretty low probability that this was the bottom. But to anybody's credit who is getting signals for bottom, I am getting those signals too. It's simply how you interpret those signals within the greater context, and which one you put first. To where do you apply the most weight or importance within your perspective? But yeah. Anyway, I do like watching Steve, and he's a great resource. Very good resource. I've actually had over the years I've had two freaking dreams that I met him in person. It's so weird. I still remember both of them too. It was almost as if I went back to the same place and met him again. It was like a continuation of the story, like 2 years later. It was weird. Anyway, yeah, but Steve's good. And I would be. I'm gonna go look at what he's been saying recently. I can't see him calling a bottom though. I could see him calling for a possibility of a bottom, but maybe you're right. I haven't. I don't know. I can't make claims. All right. Roman, hey, thanks for the quick super chat. What do you think of micro caps on BSC? Binance Smart Chain. I don't know about BSC specific to your question, but micro caps in general. So this should apply. I would guess this has a high probability of applying to the nature of on BSC. I think this should apply to all micro caps, which would include that as well, right? Micro caps don't do well historically until Bitcoin has broken its previous all-time high. Because that's when people take profits from their layer ones and Bitcoin stuff, having bought in a bear market, and they go look for what's next because they know altcoin season is upon us. which is a long ass, that could be 2025 until microcaps do well. And I'm going to define microcap right now as bear market. Anything under 25, 30 million market cap, that's a microcap. It probably won't, it has a strong chance of doing nothing spectacular until Bitcoin is racing up towards and very close to its previous all-time high of 70K. That's what I think about microcaps. So stocking up on microcaps in a bear market is likely not the most optimized strategy, because you can get into either Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some layer ones and ride that up. They'll likely outperform your microcap for the first leg up until Bitcoin's close to all-time high. Then, like other people, take profits and then get your microcaps. And by that point, you'll be able to get more of the microcap, because the things you got instead of those microcaps went up higher on a percentage basis. You take the profit. Now you have more tether to buy the microcaps, and you'll have more than you would under that idea. You would have more of the microcap because you did that. So if you want more microcaps, I would think it has a stronger chance of being, you'll have more microcaps if you don't buy them first. Rather get Bitcoin, Ethereum, few layer ones for the first ride up, take profits, and then buy your microcaps. You'll have more microcaps and microcap gains because of it. That's what I think of microcaps. But particular to BSC, I'm sorry, I'm a little all of my fundamental stuff, like, you know, I can't, like the project called Ardor. I remember I was new to crypto and doing my research, like how everybody's about KDA. It's gonna change the world, right? Now I'm not picking on KDA, but there are a lot of people saying that, right? It's the next big blockchain, right? I had those moments in 2017. Most of everything either disappeared or never even got close to all-time highs, which is very from a statistical standpoint, not picking on KDA, but factually, statistically, right? So factually, it's statistically likely that KDA never reaches its previous all-time highs next bull run. I think that's a factual statement based on math. It has nothing to, and that is a factual statement for pretty much any layer 1 or layer 2 that came out this bull run. Like, it's not, I'm not picking on KDA at all, right? But anyway, I think I answered your question. All right, DCF is asking a question. One last thing, silo bear market target. Yeah, that's a good question. There are some exceptions, obviously, but I think what was it? Phantom was technically a microcap. And it dropped 99% after dropping like 80%, and then it just went crazy. So there are a few exceptions, but the probability of you actually successfully picking one that does something like that it's very, or picking Veracity in the bear before the bull market, like it's the chance of you actually picking the right one is very low. And if I could say one more thing. Oh yeah, I was going along the lines of never again will I, do all that fundamental research. That's why I don't know. I don't know if you're saying Binance Smart Chain and what the implications of the defining your question like that means. I just look at charts now, and your next bear market, 4 or 5 years in the future, you probably will too. Like, you're probably not going to do research anymore, because, and here's the finalized statement to that to make it all go for a circle. The things that are going to do the biggest runs next bull run are very likely the brand new projects, the new flavors of the month, not shit that already had its run. The bigger money for altcoins are going to be on the new altcoins, most likely. Keep that in mind. So that is extra evidence of getting into microcaps now and stocking up on them might not be the best idea because of that idea. Statistically, most won't reach their previous all-time highs anyway. And also, what's going to run better are the brand new stuff that the new retail are all worried about. Right? When the next wave of money comes, like, I don't guarantee, but just think about it. They're probably not going to be chasing, freaking, the things that came out this time. Like your KDAs and stuff like that. They're probably not going to chase it. Or even NFTs. Like NFT craze, that was probably it. It could live on in form of art dealership and ownership of art and dealing art, which is kind of what it's turning into. But it's never going to be a hype again, right? It's going to be the new stuff. Just keep that in mind. I've already been through this process. It's likely going to repeat. It's very likely going to repeat, okay? All right. One last thing. Silo bear market targets. And that's why I keep saying I'm not doing freaking research in a bear market. It is like the probability of wasting your time is so high that you might as well assume it's a waste of time. It's that high. Like the probability of the sun coming up as the earth is spinning is so high that you shouldn't worry about it coming up or not. You should make the assumption. So is the probability that high that, you're wasting your time doing research right now? No, but it crossed my threshold where I just assume it's a waste of time because I've already been through it. And last time it was a waste of time. So I think it's a waste of time. All right. Golly, how is this hanging on like this? That is crazy. Wow. Well, if there is a micro cap that might be worth looking at in a bear market, this one is not a bad candidate. Wow. I cannot believe it's still doing this. All right, I would say this area here, or this area here. These would be my bear market areas for Silo, and I would say this on a wick. If you caught it, it's not going to spend much time down there. But you could just try to get it in both areas. Like, if you have $1,000 you want to spend, you could try getting, $600 worth here and save $400 just in case it wicks down here. Something like that. I'm not giving financial advice, but something to that effect. You just have two different targets. I think honestly, it might just go sideways the whole freaking bear market. This is, what was that, MTRG or whatever that I did at the beginning of the stream? That coin and this are really good candidates of altcoins. That might not make much lower lows. This whole bear market. This is really impressive stuff. Let's see here. What does it do? So it looks like it's forming something like this, though. And that's February. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it doing something like that. There you go. That's Silo. I got to go soon because I got to go buy a little 6-year-old bike. She's been trying to push around on one of those, I took the training wheels off, but it was built for like a 3 or a 4-year-old. Poor girl. And she's not even a tall 6-year-old. My 4-year-old's just as tall, but it's just too small for her. So she's really excited. She's determined. She's probably... Yeah, she's my only kid so far. I can't quite tell with my youngest one. She's my only kid so far. My third is the only one who puts a lot of motivation and effort towards physical activities. My oldest is more of a computer nerd and coding, and he puts a lot of motivation towards that, but nothing physical. And my oldest daughter is just whatever. Not for sure. I can't even get her to practice soccer. So anyway. Okay, so actually, Usuario in ENG says something actually. Yeah, Axie Infinity will change humanity. Yeah, that's what people. Yeah, yeah, that's okay. Glimmer and Samo. Okay, sorry, Harrison. Glimmer and okay, let's do Glimmer and Samo. Then I'm gonna look at if y'all want to scroll up to look what it looks like user Rio ENG, but it's Usuario ENG. I'm gonna go over that. Then I gotta go. But I'm gonna do Glimmer, Samo. Then look what. Then look at that question back up above, and I gotta go buy a freaking bike. All right, Tim. So Glimmer and Samo. Okay. It did not go hit that horizontal like everything else. So KDA, Bitcoin hit that horizontal. This did it. So this is really well. No, I take that back. That was too high. No, Bitcoin did hit this horizontal. So this came up short. That's a little too high. I should have put it here because of these wicks. So Bitcoin. So this is. It doesn't have. It doesn't have a big base of buyers. That are hopeful. If it can't even stay structurally in step with Bitcoin, it's not good. Interesting. On Glimmer, it's the 30-minute 200 EMA, which is your best fit line. Some coins did that. I think VeChain used this line as its best fit line throughout the whole bear or bull market. This is using its 30-minute. So if you want me to zoom out, you can see how I've developed this trading channel with the lines. I'll take this off if you want to take a look at that, and I guess I can get rid of this. So you snapshot that. If you're into this coin, you just take a look. All right. And then I would use the 30-minute 200 EMA. Those lines plus this EMA are going to give you a damn good idea of what's happening with Glimmer, both in short term and long term. So right now, it looks like it's getting ready to get rejected by its point of control. It looks like it's getting ready to drop pretty hard. But it does have a chance to make a higher low structure and then come up and get rejected by the 1 hour before then coming down. It has a chance. But yeah, this is very heavy pressure down. You could bounce here. It could bounce. Yeah, that's what it's trying to bounce on is this. Yeah, I could see it coming up to its 1 hour 200 one more time at 67 cents. I think that is very possible. I wouldn't label it probable, but if it got up 67 cents, I would probably not be bullish anymore. And then I would expect it to dip back down. Yeah, Glimmer is looking pretty weak. And then its next big move, once it falls off this horizontal, where is it going? It's gonna go here. Could it have a bounce on this line? Could it bounce in this area? Yeah, it could. But when it bounces, what's it going to do? It's going to get rejected by that point of control, and then it's going to touch that line. All right, if it does get a bounce here, it's going to hit the resistance and then come down. Yeah, so the bottom of this point of control, whenever it hits it, is probably where it's going to go once it drops. And it's going to drop off one of these cliffs. It'll probably be this cliff. It'll probably come straight down here. If it doesn't hit this first, but at whatever point of these two horizontals, let's see here. There you go. I'm going to leave that there. All right. And then Glimmer, Samo. It's on Kraken. Well, this doesn't have enough trading volume. I mean, I probably wouldn't mess with this, even though it's been on a hell of a run. Like, but this, like, if you're buying more than $500 of this, you're not. It's gonna be hard to get rid of it. See all these spaces? That means it's not traded. Gonna have bad liquidity, which means you can't buy and sell the amount you want, where and when you want. No, you can sell it when, you can't sell it where, where you want. I would use the weekly 10 and the 1 hour 200 EMA on this. It's going to get trapped between there. And where the direction it resolves as this comes down and this comes up, that's the direction it's going. It's likely going to be down though. You could get it some crissy-crossy action like that though. It could do a trick play. It could do something like this. And that's the weekly 10. And then price. Oh! There you go. So this is the 1 hour 200. It's probably going to, so after it hits the weekly 10, it's probably going to come back up and test the 1 hour 200. It'll probably then get stuck between the two. It could have a fake out resolution first. Like, that's possible. But, you know, when it resolves itself, just realize there is a chance that it's a fake out. It's the wrong direction. And then it, yeah, I could actually see something like this happening. If I had to make one guess, this would be it. It's not wise to just like stick with one guess and that's it. You know, like I'm proud of my guess. No, I'm not saying that. But if I just were allowed one guess, I would guess something to this effect. I've seen this type of cross many times, and it looks like it'll want to bounce off the weekly 10 first, but it hasn't gotten there yet, so it's going to come down a little more. 0087. Yeah, it doesn't have a bounce point until it hits there. All right, so I'm going to look at Usario here. BTC rejected by the 200 MA. On 4 hour. MA5 about to cross MA20 on the daily. So you're almost like, you almost got ribbons then. Like that, what you're doing are like moving average ribbons then. Okay, I see what you're doing. Yeah, so you're messing around with EMAs more. Okay, so for you, I would recommend you use EMAs. But yeah, or not just exclusively, but you might want to mix those in. I really do suggest that. All right, and then you said 6 and 20? 5. I don't know. I don't know if this cross here is the greatest. Does it have good track history? I mean, let's see. Well, it did work there, actually. And it worked there too. Huh. But it was a fake out here. So here, like the same sort of things happened, and it made higher highs. It has the chance, but you can see here there was an origin line here too. Got rejected from it. And I would say this would have a bigger chance of playing out if the same type of thing happened after it gets rejected one more time. This curls up a little bit, and then this red comes back down to the orange after a nice rejection. I would say that would have a bigger chance of a crash incoming. I think it's too highly probable that it's getting ready to bounce, and it'll go between the 200 and the 20 on the 4 hour, the moving averages. But yeah, you essentially have faster moving stuff with slower moving stuff, and that's kind of similar to how I view things too. Yeah, I don't, but if I can make this a little brighter here, I don't think this is going to give you the signal you're looking for. Oh. Yeah, I don't know if that cross, because the smaller the number, which this is a 5, like there's nothing structurally here saying that is in tandem with this, that agrees with it. It actually, there's more structure saying bounce. So if this small EMA crossing this has structural things aligning with downside, such as after getting rejected from an origin line, then the red crosses, okay, sure. Or getting rejected from an origin line, red crosses, sure. But that's not happening right now. So I personally wouldn't guess that will play out. Because it looks like this needs the structural stimulus behind it in order for that to get the oomph it needs to really play out. But I like what you're doing, and I think that you've stared at charts a long time, relative to just general what people are trying to look at in charts and how much time. It seems like you put a lot of time in this. So let's say it that way. And I think if you keep going down that track, I think that you have crossed the threshold of you're going to see new things in the charts. But once you finally get to the point you're at, I mean, maybe you're well beyond that. You've already seen a million new things in the charts, but in that process of learning how to do TA, you'll reach a point where you finally cross the threshold. Then, like, you got a bunch of new shit, like, oh my gosh, this, and oh my gosh, that, oh my gosh, that. And during that process in and of itself, you get really far away from the basics, like higher high, higher low, or rejection and support. Because you're so worried about all the new stuff you're seeing. But I can tell that in your journey here that you've spent a lot of time in the charts, and that's a cool analysis. But I would that would be my take. I don't think that this cross here is going to be significant enough without the structural stuff behind it or some other. I think this is more of a timing. I would use this as a timer, not a pusher. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if there is a push that's happening, then yeah, I think this helps time when that person who gets pushed hits the ground or begins to fall or whatever, loses balance. But I don't see the push. Hopefully that makes sense. That's how I interpret it. All right, rock and roll. If I skipped over your question, folks who are in the YouTube tiers, you can hit me up on Twitter with the question, as a response to one of the charts I post or whatever, if I missed you. And we'll see you on Thursday at 6 p.m. New York. Stay safe. Remember, this week's going to be crazy. High impact economic data. The charts could get wicked. So everything I say, honestly, could go out the window because the wickedness of this. And in the end, it could just go sideways with wicked stuff in between until you realize, shit, it just went sideways. It could be really tough. I don't want you to forget that. This week could be extraordinarily strange. We'll see you on Thursday at 6 p.m. New York time. You just got typified. Bye-bye.